and welcome to the very first episode of Ask Miss Victory Violet here on YouTube. This is a brand new series that I'm going to be doing a episode a month. It is sponsored by the lovely people over at Collectif Clothing, and today I'm wearing their Maria dress in English garden print, which I just love this print. The colours are amazing. And for those of you who haven't been following me for the last couple of years, I thought I'd just give you a quick background on how Ask Miss Victory Violet kind of started, because it's been on my blog for the last 3 years or so, but it originally kind of came about because I entered Miss Pinup New Zealand, and part of that competition is you had to do a talent and you had to do it for 2 minutes, and I was really stumped because I don't sing, I don't dance, I don't play a musical instrument. So I was like, okay, I know how to do hair. That is my talent. How can I turn this into a performance? So I did a live victory roll tutorial in the form of a kind of dramatized skit.
This week's edition of Ask Miss Victory Violet. Today on the show we have a letter from Doris. Let's hear what she has to say. Dear Miss Victory Violet, I need your help. Whenever I try to do victory rolls, they always end up looking flat and lifeless. I want to show my support to my husband in the field, but feel like my rolls are letting him down. Please help, Doris. Oh, this won't do, Doris. But don't fret, sweetheart. I'll have you doing victory rolls worthy of Ava Gardner and Betty Grable in no time. Let's get started. Victory rolls are really quite simple. Just follow these easy steps. The first thing you need to do is use your comb to section the hair from the crown to just behind the ear. Now back comb vertical sections to give your roll structure and volume. This is also what's going to give your roll longevity. Now, using your soft bristle brush, ever so lightly smooth over the very top layer of the hair. Pull the section up to 90 degrees, create a pin curl at the top, and roll that baby down to create your iconic victory roll shape. Slide a few pins in to secure it. And last, but definitely not least, the icing on the cake, spray. There is no such thing as too much hairspray in my opinion. And there you have it. You've formed a glorious victory roll. And I'll put my personal Miss Victory Violet guarantee that if you follow these steps, you'll be able to go out for a night of dancing or even just a day at work, and your rolls will still be looking just as perky as when you first left the house. I'm off to go test that theory at a dance down the road. My favourite band's playing, and I hear the American soldiers are in town. Till next week.
That my vision was to take it to YouTube, but I just wasn't very good at editing videos back then, so I've been doing it on the blog, but this year I wanted to bring it into video form. So here we are. Let's get cracking with some questions. I've got a really good range of questions that have been submitted via Instagram, Facebook, and my blog, and some of them are really interesting. The first one is, if you could become any mythical creature for a day, which would you choose? Okay, initially I was like, well, mermaid, duh, because I can swim in the ocean and I'd have a pretty like sparkly fin. But then I was like, you know what, as much as I love the idea of being able to be in the ocean and being a mermaid, I think being maybe like a shapeshifter would be even better, because then there could be all kinds of animals and I could fly and I could be in like the Serengeti. I mean, I'd want to probably be like big animals so there's less chance to be eaten. But yeah, I think a shapeshifter would be my ideal mythical creature, if it even comes under that title. Next question is a hair one, and this is, I'm going to a 3-day long car show and I'll be camping and not have very much access to hot tools, and they are predicting rain. What are some good ways to keep the humidity off the hair and some styles that give you a bit of freedom when your curls start to fall? Okay, so firstly, because you are not going to have access to electricity and therefore be able to set your hair with hot tools, you are going to have to stick with sponge rollers, but you'll still be able to get a really nice set out of those just by putting them in dry at night, maybe using some setting spray like Suavecita grooming spray, and you'll definitely be able to like kind of keep those curls going for a couple of days. However, no matter how good your set is, humidity can still be like a major killer, so I would recommend going for some updos like the poodle. Also, victory rolls are really good. You could do a couple of victory rolls kind of on each side and then pop the back up into a French roll or a beehive, tie a scarf around it. That way it's all off like off your neck, you won't get too hot, the humidity isn't going to get it, you might get a little bit of frizz, but you can easily fix that by using some pomade before you do the victory rolls. So yeah, I would just go with, if you're wanting to set it, go with sponge rollers, and then for when the humidity is really high, just do updos. How do you deal with other pinups' negative comments? Sometimes I get called a fake pinup by other vintage gals because I don't have as many vintage items. This really grinds my gears. It is something that I find most frustrating within the vintage community, and I really dislike when women who choose to wear more vintage than repro basically try and bring down or make women who wear the reproduction clothing more seem inferior. I don't think that's very nice. And that might be because they are plus size and they can't find much true vintage. It might be because they have a job where that's a very hands-on, it's a little bit messy, they don't want to get their true vintage dirty, or perhaps they just like it. Not all of us were brought up in a culture of vintage. My parents never kind of showed me vintage films, or I was never exposed to that kind of thing. The most I was exposed to was Grease, and I did watch that a lot, and I'm sure it influenced me in my later years, but I was never exposed to that. I grew up in New Zealand where true vintage is quite hard to come by. We do have thrift shops, but a lot of it is more 70s, 80s, 90s, so finding something from the 40s or 50s is just like, you do get it, but it's hard. You know, I didn't have it accessible to me like you might have in LA or in places like London. Also, I found the vintage style through reproduction clothing, and I'll be always grateful for that. Even though I have started to dress more vintage and more true vintage styles now, I still love my reproduction clothing because it's easy to wash, because I don't have to worry if I get, it's not like as big of a deal if I get a hole in it or if I spill something on it, because it's easier to take care of. And it's also nice that more of the sizes are catered for. So yeah, I really don't think that it's nice that some people decide to try and tear down the reproduction kind of wearers. I think everyone should just be able to wear what they love and not feel judged for it. I mean, that's why a lot of us dress this way, is because we're over being judged for a style that we don't fit into the mold of. So I think it's a real shame that there is that kind of underlying conflict between vintage and reproduction. But how do I deal with negative comments? I guess I just sort of try to tell myself that, or make sure I kind of remind myself like why I do what I do, why I dress this way, and why I love it. And actually a lot of the time when someone said something negative to me, it's not really anything to do with me, it's to do with them. You know, like they're insecure or they're jealous, or they just are so bitter with their lives that they don't have anything else to do. So a lot of the time, if there's something negative to be said about you, it's actually not to do with you. So just remind yourself how fabulous you are and just keep doing what you love. Oh, this is a question I get a lot. How often do you wear corsets? Any tips for styling them under everyday clothes? Okay, a lot of people assume that I wear corsets all the time, and I don't. I wear them every couple of months. Sometimes, like, there's been like some years where I've worn them like once or twice a year. Mostly it's for a photo shoot if I am gonna wear one, and if I do wear one, I will probably be telling you about it. So yeah, a lot of people do seem to think that I wear corsets daily, and I don't. I am just blessed with a naturally small waist, and all of my fat goes onto my hips and thighs. I am a super duper pear. My circumference of my thigh at the widest point is only 1 inch smaller than my waist. So I have 2 of my waists pretty much at the top of my thighs. So yeah, super duper pear-shaped. For styling them under clothes, I think there's a few different ways that you can help to disguise them. Firstly, if the laces look quite bulky at the back, you can change up the regular kind of cotton laces for satin. They tend to sit a bit more flat and be not as bulky at the back there. There's also several different ways that you can tie your laces. Lucy's Corsetry is a really good blog to follow. I think she does videos here on YouTube as well. Normally with corsets, corsets, the ties start at the back and the top and meet in the middle. But I think it can be better if you have it re-threaded so that the knot, like where you're going to tie it off, is actually at the bottom, and then you can tuck it up into the underside of the corset. You can also add like shapewear over the top to help smooth any lines. I know Georgina from Fuller Figure, Fuller Bust always will wear her like Spanx shorts over the top, and that helps to kind of just smooth that line on her hip. But yeah, it's really just going to depend on the fabric of the dress that you're wearing or whatever you're wearing, because some fabrics are going to show it up a heck of a lot more and there might not be too much that you can do. What was my dream job as a child? Oh my god. So I wanted to be a marine biologist until I was like 15. That was my dream job. Like from as young as I can remember, I wanted to basically work with dolphins. I wanted to study dolphins. I was dolphin mad. I just swam all the time when I could. I just wanted to do anything I possibly could to be with dolphins. I had a dolphin studio where underneath my like bunk bed my parents like removed the bottom bunk when my little brother like got his own room, and I had like a dolphin curtain and pictures of dolphins everywhere, and I would write books about facts about dolphins. And then yeah, I got to like age 15, 16 and I realized that I was not very good at science, and being a marine biologist was basically doing biology for the rest of your life, and that wasn't really going to work out so well. I was definitely much more of a English geography sort of languages type student, not science or maths. So I had to reassess. Ooh, this is a good question. So how do you find balancing your personal life and online presence? Do you find there is a difference between Ella and Miss Victory Violet, and how do you take time away? It's a good question, because I guess there is a difference, but there's not. As with any social media, it is a highlights reel. So there is the difference, I guess, between Ella and Miss Victory Violet, that Miss Victory Violet I don't tend to share when I am just lying in bed in my pajamas, or there's a lot of days during the week where I'm not really getting dressed up. I am just sitting at my desk working on the blog or doing admin, and I'm just at my computer and I haven't done my hair and makeup and I don't look glamorous at all. So I don't really share those moments, because I guess I started my blog and my social media accounts as a way to share my style. So when I'm not in that style, I guess I'm just like, oh, this isn't that interesting. But I do try to have a balance, and I do try to like do, a no makeup selfie every once in a while, or kind of talk about, my off days and whatnot. So I think there is a difference in terms of course, there is less glamour in real life than maybe what it looks like on social media, but I try to kind of keep everything pretty even. But I'm also one of those people that's a introverted extrovert, so I am an extrovert and I do love meeting people and talking to people, and I am quite bubbly. But I also am an introvert in terms that I need my time alone, or my downtime, my quiet time, watching Netflix in bed with Matt, just having some time at home. So I guess how I take my time away from social media is just making sure that I have those days to myself where I can just relax and I can recharge and I don't have to talk to anyone. I get really, really anxious. Not anxious, but I get really kind of just like, oh no, I don't want to talk, if someone randomly calls me out of the blue, or I get invited to something and there's not enough time to kind of like mentally prepare for it. So yeah, I'm definitely an introverted extrovert. Another question, what is your dream item to have? Probably like if I could just have maybe 20 lucite purses. Some of the there's some like amazing lucite purses on Etsy that I have favorited, which I am just like, I would have to somehow come into a lot of money to be able to afford them, or to be able to sort of justify affording them. They are beautiful and they are definitely a dream item. I would also love to have a vintage car and a vintage, like matching vintage car and vintage caravan or something like that. And also I'd really love to have my own home. I would love to own a house. In New Zealand it is really, really hard and really expensive to own a house. And that's kind of one of the reasons why we moved to London, because we were like, wow, we can't afford to live here, so we might as well go live in another expensive city, but we'd have the perk of getting to travel to Europe. So yeah, lucite purses, vintage car, and my own house. Okay, and last question. What advice would you give to a person starting out on their journey of dressing vintage? Okay, there's a couple of different things with this. Firstly, just go with what you are loving. Don't worry about, there are definitely trends within the vintage community. I've noticed this especially in the last kind of couple of years, but don't worry too much about that. Just wear what you kind of love. Everyone sort of has to start somewhere, and if I look back on the way that I used to dress when I first got into the kind of pin-up and vintage style, it is a heck of a lot different to what it is now. It definitely was a bit more sort of the kind of, not costumey, but it was, I liked all the cliches of it. So I liked polka dots and I liked sailor stuff. So you are gonna look back probably in a few years and kind of go, I've definitely improved. But that's okay, because it's just about you loving what you are wearing in that moment of time. Watch YouTube videos, just practice with your hair. It all just takes practice. You are not going to be able to magically just be able to do a hairstyle after watching a YouTube tutorial. You are going to need to practice. So practice. For building a wardrobe, I would look at the buy, swap and sell Facebook pages. I would go thrift shopping. I would go vintage shopping. I would try and find some bargains and some staples that can kind of work in with some maybe more expensive items that you love. And also, just when you're sort of really building it up from that very starting point, try and get things that you know you can mix with other stuff. So maybe go with a lot of separates. Dresses are gorgeous, but if you can go with some separates that you can really like put this top with the skirt and really change it around so that you can get lots of different types of outfits from a handful of items, then that's going to be really good for just when you're building it up. And just have fun with it. Like, don't worry about kind of what everyone else is thinking. And I know that's going to be hard because you're going to feel like everyone is staring at you. Just walk out your door when you leave your house and tell yourself that you look amazing, you love the outfit that you're wearing, you know, like you spent your hard-earned money buying this outfit and you love it. And if anyone has anything negative to say, then that's their problem. But be sure in what you love and kind of how you're doing it. Dress for you and find an inner confidence that no one can shake. Thank you very much for watching the first episode of Ask Miss Victory Violet, and thanks again to Collectif Clothing for being the sponsor of this series. I'm going to put the link for this gorgeous Maria dress below. If you'd like to submit a question for next month's episode, then just leave a comment below. I am looking for things that are a little bit outside the box, a little bit interesting. I will answer hair and makeup questions, but I do have a lot of material about that on my blog and here on YouTube, so it is going to be a mix of hair and makeup and other stuff. So ask me some interesting questions, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next month for a new episode of Ask Miss Victory Violet.